Hey guys, welcome back to the course. So we've talked about white papers, ebooks, and email courses in our most recent lectures here on lead magnets. Next up, we're going to cover one more type of lead magnet that many marketers use, and that is called the webinar. Now, webinars are online seminars. Generally, you use an online presentation platform to give a presentation or conduct some kind of discussion with other speakers. People sign up for this webinar and attend virtually, so you could have people from virtually anywhere watching, asking questions, and hopefully participating in different ways. Webinars are usually 60 minutes long. That's just kind of the standard. And they're usually free because many of the businesses hold webinars to generate leads for its business. Typically, it's the case that they make a pitch at the very end of the 60 minutes. Like those other lead magnet types, white papers, ebooks, and e-courses, webinars are all about giving away value in exchange for email addresses and other personal info so businesses can use them for marketing and promotion. For example, Leadpages holds a weekly webinar and promotes it with a video preview, description, and bullet points to understand the value you'll get by attending. It's pretty common for a company to have one person in the company, like the marketing person or something, do weekly webinars. And the idea is you get to see it live. That's interesting. And it's someone in the company who knows what they're talking about. So it's an expert. So what are the benefits of creating and running a webinar? Well, showing off your expertise obviously is a big one. If there's a topic your audience cares about, holding a webinar on that topic and sharing helpful tips and best practices proves your worth. If you've built a project management app, it would make sense to hold a webinar about how to manage projects better, for example. Recordings of your webinars could also be used to show off the breadth of your knowledge, especially if you do them consistently, like once a month. Webinars are also an opportunity to reuse some of your best content. If you wrote a really good blog post about the steps to follow to do, keyword research, Google AdWords, well, you could base a webinar on the same steps, but use the format to go into deeper detail and answer questions along the way. Or you just use it as an opportunity to just do it, as opposed to just give instructions. Now, webinars have an advantage over other lead magnets in that they're presented in a multimedia video type format. Video webinars can feature a shot of the presenter speaking over a full screen image of a presentation slide or doing a walkthrough of an app or a platform. One of my favorite benefits of these is that you only have to do them once, right? So the book, you have to write the whole thing, which takes a lot of planning and creating the content and writing it and perfecting it. With the webinar, if you have an expert, they don't have to prep that much and you can kind of just put them on for an hour and there you go. Collecting leads is certainly a benefit, but with webinars, you can also learn more about the attendees by asking questions. Webinars are meant to be interactive, so you could field questions from your audience, but you could also plan times to ask them like poll questions, have them jump in discussions, and let's say give them surveys after the webinar is over. Webinars can also be a nice way to show off your personality and make new connections. The webinar format means you or another speaker will be in front and center. Attendees will see and hear you. Instead of your blog post or your website being the voice of your business, you could be that voice. Just remember, an engaging webinar speaker can convert a lot more attendees to paying customers than, say, a boring and unprepared one. So what kind of businesses use webinars as lead magnets? Oh God, a lot. Any business with experts and expertise to share would be a good fit for a webinar, especially if you sell info products. Fantastic for a webinar. A lot of online courses will sell through webinars. You're essentially giving a presentation online, so the more experience you have with different topics, the wider a range you've got to pick from when thinking about webinars you can do. Businesses that offer some kind of consulting or training services also are natural fits as webinars, and they can just offer a taste of what they do. That also applies to product-based businesses, especially if you like software. You can do a webinar showing how to use it or showing how awesome it is. It's also something you commonly see in B2B. So with B2B, business to business, sometimes they won't even sell directly on their website. Sometimes you will just want to do a demo and then sell because it's a higher contract value when you actually do sell to a company. But anyway, these experts don't have to be people from your company necessarily. Plenty of webinars are produced and hosted by one business, but then feature outside experts. Organizations like, there's one I found, the Society of Petroleum Engineers know, when they want to educate their members on topics like personal branding. Outside experts probably going to be better for them. Businesses that sell service platforms, especially complex ones with lots of features, are also a good fit for webinars. Being able to screencast an app, talk people through steps, and answer questions means the webinar format can be used for Q&A, troubleshooting, and potentially selling people on solutions you might offer. If a platform is popular enough, think of something like, I don't know, Google Analytics, you'll find a lot of people offer webinar training, including Google themselves. However, this leads me to the disadvantages of the webinar formats, things that you should probably keep in mind. Well, the video recording itself might have a short shelf life. After a business holds a webinar, many of them will post their webinar recording on their blog or an archive, or you can put them on YouTube as well. But if the subject of the webinar, let's say, is a platform that changes over time, new features get added, for example, then the webinar becomes out of date. If you wrote a blog post on how to use something, it's pretty easy to go in and edit what's changed. With a webinar, it's hard. You might have to redo the whole thing. Even with other lead magnet formats like ebooks, well, it's pretty easy to just swap out screenshots, for example, or change the text when changes happen. But with webinars, well, odds are you might have to record an entirely new version. That sucks. There's another issue to consider as well. You need to have some presentation and public speaking skills. If you're not the kind of person who enjoys giving talks, well, webinars might not be your fit, or maybe you have to find somebody else to do them for you. This format generally requires somebody with enough confidence and experience with a topic to stand in front of a virtual crowd, or, probably just sit with a microphone and a headset. Either way, you need to be able to speak well and think on your feet. If you don't have the experience, obviously just don't count out webinars. It might just be the case that you need extra practice before you do one, and I do recommend attending at least a couple other ones to see what they're like. Try your best to avoid the really, really spammy ones though. So ultimately, webinars have a lot of potential value. The promise of that value on landing pages and in other promotional materials and ads is what can get people to sign up. But the quality of your webinars will keep the audience coming back and recommending you to others. So in our next lecture, we're going to talk about how to plan and conduct the webinar of your own. All right, guys, see you then.